MLB with the amazing hitting environments that we have. And it looks like we are now a go, Chris. So we'll let some people trickle in here, and we'll get her started because I'm making my last two Yahoo lineups, and then I've got a bunch of DraftKings action ready to go. So I'll drop this little tweet into the world and get it off into our Slack chat, and let's do it, my man. Go for it. It's all yours. The con is yours, Captain Spags.
Thank you. And thank you. That's why you are my old pal, Mac. And it's good to have you back here on a Saturday. But yeah, we are here, guys. It's live before lock here on the Awesome YouTube channel. So please hit that like button. And also, while you're throwing out likes, throw a little like, an emotional like towards Fantasy Draft, the official home of rake-free daily fantasy sports. And that type of game is only available on Fantasy Draft. Now you can play your favorite contest rake-free on Fantasy Draft, where 100% of the entry fees are paid to contest winners. For a limited time, Fantasy Draft is offering a free 7-day trial on your first $1,000 and rake-free entries. So right now, go to fantasydraft.com. Use the promo code OSMO to claim your free 7-day trial. That first $1,000 in rake-free entries. Rake will catch up to you on any DFS site, but not on fantasydraft.com. So go check them out. Support them because they are supporting us. And Emac, I know you're one of the most savvy DFS players, been doing this for a while here. What is the benefit of rake-free daily fantasy? You mentioned you're doing your Yahoo lineups. Obviously, we love them as well, but Fantasy Draft, another place you can play rake-free. So what are people getting out of that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the interesting thing here is, and there have been several studies, but it's on the margin. And now that things are more and more efficient, and it's no longer the good old days. And there's no free money Tuesday, and there's no, when the NFL players jump into NBA or MLB, everybody's pretty savvy at this point. So the margins are pretty thin. So if you're going rake free, now you do have to, you can get $100. I think it's $100 a month you can play, but every contest they have is now rake free. It's a subscription based model, so based on your volume of play, you can join different levels. And of course, we have the 1 week free. Basically, if you're playing $1,000, you're doing quite well there. But they do have a massive $1 million NFL Week 1 contest that is going off, 150 max. But I don't know that thing's going to fill. So I'm earmarking $200 or $300 for that one. Myself. And the thing about the rake is all it takes so about 5 to 7% of the people are profitable on at any given time here. And then the other thing you want to think about is if that just moves a little bit, there's so many people right on that break even that 10, let's just call it 10%, because you do have to pay for the subscription. You have to you do have to pay your 2 or 3%, whatever it is, when you deposit money there. But all of a sudden you're looking at 10%. That's shifting the curve over. So now you've got about 17% of the people that should be better than break even. Of course, the tippy top people will always be making the money because things are so top heavy these days, but it makes it so you don't have to redeposit. And that's the exciting thing here. So I've got a little money over there that I've already earmarked for this contest, and I'll put in some more for week 1. Dabble over there for baseball. It's fun, and they'll start to do these ticket contests. And if you follow them at Fantasy Draft on Twitter, they're giving away tickets into various contests. So check that out, and it's a lot of fun. 3 years ago, that was my secondary site. I've had to shift things around a little bit, but they do have CSV upload there, which is very, very helpful. And it's almost position free for baseball because you have 3 infielders, 3 outfielders, 2 utilities, 2 pitchers. So you get that 2-pitcher strategy, but here's the little tip. If you want to play a catcher there, that will set you with a lot of differentiation in your lineup. We saw that many times with Yasmani Grandal when he was with the Dodgers. It's even better now that he's with Milwaukee, in my opinion. Better home park. So they're in Washington tonight, but it's not a bad way to go. But it's all these little tricks and tips that get you to not have to redeposit.
Yep. So there you go. So go check them out right now, fantasydraft.com, and use that promo code OSMO for your free 7-day trial there and help support an important change in the DFS industry, which will hopefully help us all put a little more money in our pockets as we go. But Emac, we do not have a deeper dive today. So the responsibility is on me and you to go game by game here to give the people what they need today. So let's do it up top here. We got Milwaukee getting 4.7 implied runs, heading into Washington is getting 5.4, a battle of Anibal Sanchez and Jordan Lyles. I really didn't get much this game. Milwaukee does project pretty well, and they are going to have a ton of ownership on them. So I think for me, that bumped them down a bit because I do try to go with my leveraged bats, and Milwaukee really as chalky as it can get on DraftKings. I mean, you have Trent Grisham going to be over 20% owned, Mike Moustakas just under 20%. So I am under the field on Milwaukee. Did not naturally get much Washington with our projections, but I could see wanting to go there given the park and also the power that Lyles gives up, giving up a 196 ISO over the last year and change. So how are you feeling about these guys here, and what are you going to have in this game, Emac?
I will probably go, I don't know, 7 to 10% on Washington. Probably the same uh, on Milwaukee. It's hot and humid here on the East Coast. We're looking at mid 80s with about, depending on where you are, 45 to 65% humidity. So that's Philadelphia. It's here, as I say here in the DC area. You're looking similar at Boston, et cetera. So it's not hot, but it's in the home run weather. We should say you would see green if you're looking at weather projections with regards to the what's going to happen for hitters. Of course, that does not bode well for pitchers. Pitching is going to be kind of a landmine area tonight. Jacob deGrom, clearly the number one guy. And then we got a bunch of question marks. And then we got some cheapies. They were asking me in chat, do I have any fades? No, but there's about 6 pitchers I think you either need to punch yourself in the nards, the face, or slam your thumb in the door, and then go ahead and roster them, because it's going to have, you're either going to feel that at the end of the night, or you might as well feel it early. But if we're looking at, even Adam said, Taylor Clarke, one of the worst pitchers in the league, he's like, yeah, I might have like 5 to 10% of him tonight because I just need him to survive. No one's going to be on him for the most part, and that gets more of the Colorado hitters in Texas, Minnesota hitters in Texas. So that would be it's not sneaky. It's right there in front of us with big flashing lights saying danger, danger. But that may be what we have to do tonight, Chris.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair one. And we'll talk about Taylor Clarke when we get there, because I am actually, throughout the course of the next hour, going to try to drop the amount of Taylor Clarke that I have, because I have about 40% Taylor Clarke right now. And that is not somewhere I want to be for the reasons that you mentioned here. He is definitely a hold your nose guy on a slate chock full of them. But yeah, I guess that sums up the thoughts here on the pitching. Emac, the hitting in this game, though, are you going to be with the field on Milwaukee? Are you coming under that? Because it is a lot of ownership for them on DK.
Where are they coming in at?
They are projected for the top 5 is going to be about 16% owned. The stack itself, okay. Let me just double check that.
Looks like about 12 last I saw.
Yeah, so yeah, it's
probably a little bit under. The one thing that you get, kind of the gift that keeps on giving, even though the Nationals traded for some bullpen help, they got it from the Mariners. The Mariners are not where you want to get bullpen help from. So they have some fresh arms. They outrighted Trevor Rosenthal. God, I wish they would outright Joe Ross Jr., but we'll have to see who ends up in their bullpen. Max Scherzer, they're taking it easy with him, which just means everybody's stretched a little more thin than we would like to see. No rain in the forecast. I think if there's anything east of the Mississippi tomorrow, they're going to try to avoid whomever the pitcher is. I haven't looked. It's probably Strasburg or something, but they've done that twice with Eric Fetty and a few others. So yeah, that just makes the Milwaukee stack that much more enticing, and it should be. Sorry, I've got too many tabs open. I think Yelich is back in the lineup. He had been out for a few days. I've been traveling, so while I've been doing the write-ups and all that, I haven't had my usual time to go back through box scores and such. But yes, Yelich is in there. 25 on Yahoo and 51 on DK. Over on Fantasy Draft, I think he's about 10,000. He's 9,800. So he would be kind of the guy you'd want to build around. You can do this because you get an incredibly discounted Trent Grisham at 58 on Fantasy Draft. Yasmani Grandal, 7,600. Keston Hiura, 84. Mike Moustakas, 73. The reason they're looking like this is I think they especially on DK and Fantasy Draft, they thought it was going to be Scherzer going today because it would have been his slot in the lineup. But they've maneuvered things around, and he's missed almost a month.
Yeah, I think he said that he wanted to be back, and they were just like, no, like take that easy for whatever reason. So yeah, I agree though. Like I think that the prices here are really appealing, and they definitely are Scherzer prices. I mean, you have Grisham that leadoff spot at 2,900 on DK. Grandal, you mentioned before, a little bit cheaper as well than he would normally be. Yelich also priced, I mean, still over 5K, but relatively cheap to what he is normally. I just think Sanchez does a decent job kind of avoiding the big damage that you would expect from a full stack to be this highly owned. And I think that's the reason why I'm not going there. He has just a 2.9% home run rate on the year, even though his xFIP is up to 5.1. Also, not a ton of hard contact, is 30%. And as you mentioned, the weather, not terrible there, but not the hottest on the slate either. So I think it's a spot where I would come under the field on Milwaukee personally. But But I could see wanting that value prices, and it is a nice price overall for everybody besides, for actually just everybody. Let's get on to the next game. San Diego going against Philadelphia. San Diego getting 4.6 implied runs going against Zach Eflin. Philadelphia getting 4.9 going against Dinelson Lamet, or Lamet, depending upon how fancy and French you want to make his name. Philly's been hitting the ball really well. Bryce Harper's been mashing it over the last 3 games, finally looking like a player worth the $700 billion that he got in the offseason. And LeMay's actually been really good pitching, though, overall, with a 38% K rate versus righties, 26% K rate versus lefties. I really didn't get as much of this game overall as I would have thought, because I thought I was going to have more Lamet, but he doesn't project terribly well for us, under a 2x value with his price up on DK, and also not going to be too owned. And Philly as well, because of not getting a lot of ownership for Lamet, I'm not getting many of their bats coming up. But Hoskins, Harper, Real Muto, I think Dickerson as well. That looks like a really strong foursome going against Lamet if he is going to get dinged up here. So what are you getting in this game, EMAC?
Those would be the 4 guys. Adam and I talked about it a little bit. I am getting a ton of Lamet over there on Yahoo. For me, everything coming in, and I'm running my stuff uncapped, trying to put in as much DeGrom and Lamet as possible. So I'm going to make. I only entered 9 times into the management fee free contest there, but I'm going to do a 1 Philly stack just going against Lamet, because he's still good on DK. His price is just way up there. Same thing with fantasy draft. So it makes it a little tougher, but he's the, kind of the Nuke Lelouch, as I was saying on the earlier show, where he gets a lot of walks and a lot of strikeouts. But the price is back up there because he's harnessed that ability somewhat compared to what, 2 years ago prior to his injury, what he was providing.
Yep, I think that works. And what about Zach Eflin? Because I've heard some people talking about him today as being a guy that they were interested in. His price is pretty low, and San Diego does give up some strikeouts versus the right-hand pitching. This lineup they have today is a 29% K rate overall in the year. They have just over a 26% K rate versus righties. Any Eflin at all for you today, given that he's a player who is cheap and he is a pivot to some of the other crappy cheap pitchers?
Maybe a little bit. I haven't done my DK stuff yet. Still finishing up Yahoo here. He was one of the guys that was not mentioned by Adam. He may not be.
Yeah, I think he's been in the bullpen since they got Vargas, I believe. But
that makes sense. I didn't have the right screen up here with game logs. I was setting my NASCAR lineups before the show. So
the most important lineups to set.
9:30 lock, or probably 7:30 lock there. So Eflin's been coming out of the bullpen. His last big pitch outings were the 27th of July. He did 73. The 20th, he did 57. And then on July 15th, he did 100. And that's nearly a month ago. Those are all post-call. Since then, he's gone on the 10th, the 6th, the 2nd, and the 31st. He's gone 17, 22, 28, 21. So I would suspect 75, 80 to be a realistic opportunity for him. We know he's not great against lefties. That's been sort of the bane of his existence. I know that you and Jake had some moments there with him, but he's going to be going against Josh Naylor. I'm not that worried about it. Eric Hosmer, yeah, okay, that's solid. Francisco Mejia, also solid, but that's it. They didn't even get ceremonial lefty Greg Garcia in there today. So if we look at him, maybe. It's not a rousing endorsement there. 4.7 implied run total for San Diego. Fernando Tatis out for the rest of the year with his back injury. Nobody's overly scary there because they got Ty France and Luis Urias in there. Manny Margot's batting leadoff. He has a little bit of pop, but he's better against lefties. Manny Machado solid against everybody. The Manny Machado price on fantasy draft and DK is very nice. 7,600 there on fantasy draft. So I do like that one. But yeah, I could see maybe 5 to 10% of Eflin just as I'm trying to spread out the landmine secondary pitchers as I go with my Colorado stats.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And as you mentioned, really the only guys you're worried about here for the most part are going to be Machado, 117 WRC plus and a 210 ISO going back to last year. Hosmer, 120 WRC plus and a 178 ISO. So not even that much power for Hosmer, really. It's not a bad spot for Eflin. I think if you are going to go to him, I'm not crazy about him personally, but I think as an idea at 10% ownership, it's not the craziest, given that we are going to be seeing a lot of ownership for some of these other guys who really don't have much to offer. Let's go on to Baltimore, heading into Boston. Baltimore getting 3.6 implied runs for them, going against Eduardo Rodriguez, who currently looks like the super chalk on DK and some of the other sites as well. Asher Wojciechowski on the other side, going against Boston, who has a very high team total, very nice team total as well of 6.9 implied runs for them. Wojciechowski has been getting strikeouts pretty well on the year, but but Boston should benefit going against his power. Wojciechowski giving up a really big 13.7% barreled ball rate and a 274 ISO overall. And he is striking guys out, though, at a 28% clip on the year overall, too. So there is some upside for Wojciechowski if you're trying to go there. But the power that he gives up can be a gigantic risk against a Red Sox team who just really is obliterated right-hand pitching on the year. And Rodriguez going against Baltimore, kind of a self-explanatory spot. They're striking out at a 26.3% rate versus left-hand pitching on the year. I don't mind Erod. I am going to be a bit under the field on him because the projections really don't back him out being the top-owned guy as much. I don't know. I think there's a lot to be interested in here, Emac. So what are you getting out of this game?
A little bit of Rodriguez. I'll probably be at half the field. The main reason is I think that's too many. The crowd seems to be too enthusiastic going towards him. Baltimore Royals coming in, going off memory, I think 3.7 implied run total. Yes, indeed. That's what it is. No great shakes there, but it's just been disappointing seeing what Rodriguez has been doing over his last few games. Let me see if I can call up a. So let's see. Over his last 10 games, haven't been too bad. 3.9 ERA, 1.4 WHIP, 11 home runs in 62 innings. So if we say he would get 3.5 times that if he was going to pitch 200 innings or so, all of a sudden we're looking at in the upper 30s for home runs. That's not good. Home runs in his last 3 games. He has averaged just over 6 innings in those games, and you're definitely going to get your per pitch from him. He's 9,000 on DK, but his last few games, 113 at Cleveland, 113 at New York, 108 versus New York, 113 at Tropicana Field, 99 versus Toronto, 105 versus LA. So he's out there. He's just absorbing a little bit of punishment. Walks have been the bane of his existence. His last 4 games, 3-6, 3-4. Those are not great. If we look at him for the whole season, yeah, he's been solid. Bit of a slump now. But it is Baltimore could be the cure-all for him. So I'm not going as enthusiastically to him as everybody else.
Yeah, I'm a little bit under the field, not too much. I think he feels like a match the field type of guy. I would rather go over on a few of these guys, and I think we'll talk about them as we go. But like DeGrom, I'm a little more comfortable going over with. Erod, he just struggles quite a bit, and I think that is a problem against even Baltimore. But I think if you are going to go with him, like if there ever going to be a day in which he is going to be 40% projected owned, and you're okay with it, I think going against Baltimore here with one of the lowest implied totals on the slate, it's probably that spot to go to him. So I don't mind it. What about the bats, Emac? Are you going to be with the field on Boston? Because Boston is going to be pretty decently owned as well, for especially that top 4, the Betts, Devers, Bogarts, Martinez group. I like these guys quite a bit here, but also I do think that Mitch Moreland and Brock Holt down at the bottom of the order can have value. And people in the YouTube chat, I think, a little bit confused, or maybe some people are. Wojciechowski did, in fact, shut down Boston earlier this year, was one of his most famous starts, I believe, on a Sunday slate, where that strikeout ability really came out there. But that doesn't change the fact that he has had the strikeout ability, but that power, he's giving up tons of power, tons of hard contact. It could be a problem here. So what are you doing with the Boston hitters?
I like the bottom third because 4 of the so Vasquez, Moreland, and Bradley, particularly on Yahoo, are all they average $12. Vasquez 11, Moreland 13, Jackie Bradley 12. I think that's a way to get some differentiation. Baltimore giving up the most runs in the league so far this season, and the Mariners are even falling behind them at this point. I just think this is a place where if they can get to that bullpen, it's going to be goodness. Fantasy goodness at that, and it's Wojciechowski. This is not the matchup for him. Pretty much, you don't want him against the AL East. You want him against other people. He has had moments, and he's shown some decent stuff. He's someone that Adam likes a lot, but it's been a tough row to hoe recently. Let's see. The Boston game was good. 105 pitches, 7 1/3 innings. Shut him out. The next game at the Angels, 6 strikeouts, which is decent. He went 7 innings, 100 pitches, but then Toronto got to him, gave up 4 runs there. New York got to him. He lasted 4 innings, gave up 5, and then his last one was Houston. So not the easiest of starts, but I just don't want to go against the Boston Juggernaut. Although they are, I went to look this up. Who is your favorite team? Is it the Yankees?
Like in real life,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
grew up
yeah.
a Yankees fan, but I kind of fell off over the years because I didn't like the free agency buying. Once A-Rod was a Yankee, it kind of ruined it for me.
All right. So Boston, how far do you think they are out of the wild card race?
Uh, Under 5 games, probably. I would guess.
6.5.
Damn it, I was so close.
That is a lot, especially when you consider that, let's see, they have scored the second most runs in the league this season, but they have given up, let's see, the seventh most runs. They still have a plus 72 differential, but it's just not been good for them. They've really fallen behind.
Yeah, Chris Sale being out too, not going to help him out because even though he does have his flaws and people can point to the times he's been blown up by the Yankees in particular, he really is very important to what they've been doing and much more reliable if you're going to have Erod as your ace for the next 10 days. It's probably not where you want to be unless you're only facing Baltimore. Then it could be okay.
All right, here's how bad Baltimore's pitching is. They have allowed 783 runs. The Mariners have slightly improved. They're down to 711, and the Rockies are at 712. So they have allowed 70 less runs than the Orioles.
Wow.
Damn, that's a lot.
That is a lot of runs. I mean, that's what Baltimore is doing. They don't want to waste any of their service time. They don't want to waste any good arms. They're just going through the year. They are phoning it in. They're like seniors in high school who are in their last semester, which I respect. I think if you can phone it in, just have a good time playing baseball, getting struck out, have a negative WRC plus like Stevie Wilkerson. Why not? You're getting paid millions of dollars to do that. Have a good time, boys.
Yeah. Ouch.
Let's get on to the next one here. We got the Mets heading into Kansas City once again here. Jacob Junis going against the Mets is going to have 4.9 implied runs against him and not much ownership on him, even though I do feel like I've seen people talking about him a good amount today. Now, on the other side, a guy who's actually good, Jacob deGrom, going to be pretty decently owned, getting 3.6 implied runs against him, which I believe is the lowest on the slate. Really nice spot for him going against a Kansas City's team who really is kind of hapless on the year. Not a great strikeout spot, but overall not somebody that you're terribly worried about, given that deGrom has such elite strikeout stuff. 32% K rate on the year, 1.1 whip. He seems like a dude who you're willing to pay for on the slate, or at least I am. But how are you feeling about deGrom today, Emac?
I think he's going to be the guy. Last I looked, I think on DK was about 55%. Okay, starting out, we're trying to match the field, and then we'll have to see what happens from that standpoint, if I get there or not. On Yahoo, I think he's going to end up on 6 of my 9 teams or 7 of my 9 teams. I'm having to actively not pick him, is what's going on at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he just seems like a safe play on a slate lacking in safe plays, and it is still going to be pretty hot. I mean, not the hottest in Kansas City, but still hot enough, a little bit over 80 degrees, it looks like right now. And I think that's still something that could give you some concern because deGrom can occasionally get hurt, I think, in some ways. He's not quite as much a Syndergaard, but he can struggle a little bit at times. So I could see maybe actually, no, I really can't see. He should be less owned than Erod. I think he should be a little bit like pay up for him getting there because I do think he's pretty safe overall. He pitches deep into games. He does kind of all the things that you would hope for. Are you going to get any Junis at all, Emac?
He actually just came into my last, my 9th team here for spendy. So here are my takes on him. I'm going to drop this into the chat. Hitters and stacks article. It also has the link to the spotlight pitchers article, and then of course third paragraph does here on Junis was so I said, well, the fireworks against the Royals pitching staff did not really get going on Friday night. We can go back to the well in Saturday's matchup against Jake Junis, who has allowed the 10th most home runs in the league this season. Now he's tied with about 5 people, but he's allowed 25. Last 2 years, he's allowed 57, which is the second most. 25 have gone to lefties, 32 to righties. The advanced metrics aren't that great for him. Lefties have a 180 ISO, righties a 200 ISO. The thing you want to remember is he doesn't allow a lot of base runners. So we're kind of home run hunting here. He's got a 6.6 walk rate and a 22% strikeout rate since the beginning of last season. So if you're going for him, if you want to put in a few Mets with your deGrom, you're going to want to go to Pete Alonso, Michael Conforto, and then probably Wilson Ramos if you need to have a catcher. On fantasy draft, again, that'll be a low differentiation play there for you. And then Joe Panic, near the minimum on most sites. He was acquired after he got released by That's picked him up because McNeil's out for the rest of the year, I believe.
Yeah, Joe Panic, not a great power guy with a .081 ISO versus righties going back to last season, but doesn't strike out either at a 9.6% rate. So he could get on base and be a part of whatever runs the Mets may score if Junis does get blown up. And I agree, Alonso and Conforto are kind of in a class of their own in this lineup. Both guys a ton of power versus righties, and Alonso really just been a beast overall in the year. I mean, well, actually, wow, his season-long numbers. He has a 329 ISO overall on the year and a 148 WRC plus. So that man is the rookie of the year in the NL for sure. Now that we have no Tatis, which is kind of sad because I think those two guys both really great rookies, really two guys we want to see doing well the rest of the year. Any Kansas City interest at all for you? I guess because DeGrom is so chalky, they're not somebody that popped up for me, but I feel like I should just ask.
No, I really don't see it. Not enough power. No Mondesi. I don't think it's worth it. In my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah, I guess I mean, they have guys who can generate runs, but I agree the power there. I could see maybe going to Dozier and Soler if you really want to go. It's either one of those guys as a one-off or as a mini stack and try to get some power in there. But yeah, I agree. It's not projection-wise doesn't look like it's the best spot. And I think even if you plug up the randomness quite a bit, you're probably not going to get much Kansas City in your optimizations today.
Merrifield, I haven't even seen. Stolen bases because we know that DeGrom is not great. It's stolen bases, but it's Merrifield even get. But Merrifield does have 16, so not horrible. Hamilton, Nicky Lopez really hasn't shown the stolen base upside we thought he would get.
Yeah, Nicky Lopez, kind of the opposite of rookie of the year. I feel like he was a guy who came up with some degree of pedigree, and he has not had any power. He has not had much speed. He's really been kind of worthless overall. Let's go on to the next game here. We got the Dodgers heading into Atlanta for a game in a nice 90-degree weather day in Atlanta. The Dodgers getting 5.5 implied runs for them going against Mike Fultonevich, who has struggled a bit on the year, but maybe shown some signs of life recently. Atlanta on the other side getting 4.5 implied runs going against Hyun-Jin Ryu, who is pitching a little bit deeper into games. Guy has a low 0.9 whip, not giving up much power at all, just at a 1.8% on run rate on the year, which is shockingly low. Not getting barreled at all either. I have a little bit of Dodgers interest today because they are putting out a lot of quality hitters against Fultonevich, a lot of power guys as well. And Fultonevich has been getting hit pretty hard, giving up a 5.8% on run rate as well as a 5.1 xFIP on the year, 9% barrel ball rate. And the Dodgers are a team who has crushed right-handed pitching on the year with a 224 ISO and a 116 WRC plus. So I have some Dodgers interest. I didn't get much Ryu and I didn't get much Braves, but what are you getting here, Emac?
I am going to make a concerted effort to get the Dodgers. So Fultonevich, let's not forget, he got demoted down to the minors. He's back up. He has just been crushed by lefties. 137 face this season, 355 WOBA, 264 ISO against righties. It's worse. 388 WOBA, 266 ISO. So literally, you can go with top 7. No, top 7. Russell Martin, sorry, we're going to leave you out. Though I am playing him on 2 of my Yahoo lineups. Here, so I read this article. Dodgers in a 5-game stretch had 22 home runs. He has 30 in back-to-back years. First time since Dodgers done that in back-to-back years since Sean Green. Bellinger, I think, just hit 41. Seager hit home runs in all 3 of the games in Marlins Park, and then Jock Peterson just outstanding in this type of a matchup. So this is one of the counter moves against Minnesota, who's playing in Texas, or the Rockies, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm firmly with you on that one. So they've really been crushing the ball. I'm looking at their actual lineup today, and I used a sample size, as I mentioned, going back to the beginning of 2018. And all the guys in the top 7, and Edwin Rios is a limited sample size, but he's been really raking it in that time period. All these guys in the top 7 above a 126 WRC plus versus righties. The lowest isolated power is Justin Turner with an 189. Everybody else in that top 7 above a 210 ISO versus righties. This is like a really high potential Dodgers lineup here going against Fultonevich. If we get good Fulty, I mean, you can certainly have a troll Fulty in there, especially with the Dodgers being a bit owned, though really not as owned as they could be in this opportunity. I'm going to add some more Dodgers in there. I got a lot of one-off Dodgers, but I think they really could explode as a stack today. And that team total seems like it's pretty reasonable, but with some potential to go higher, I would think.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Chris.
Any Ryu for you at all? Because he has been pitching well and he is kind of a forgotten man on the slate, but 10,200 on DK and similarly priced elsewhere. He does offer some potential at not much ownership.
It's just too tough of a matchup. Now Ryu's been amazing. I mean, his control has just literally been this season. Let me see. So last season he of 3.1% of batters, basically non-existent. He had 22% strikeout rate, but that's okay. I'll take the fact that he has a 105 or ISO to both sides of the plate, a 220 WOBA to lefties, a 260 to righties. You'd be thrilled if that was batting average against, let alone weighted on base percentage.
Yeah, I think that's a fair take there. And Ryu too, for one more point about him, his strikeout upside really hasn't been as great as you would think it could be, given that he's just been so successful. But just a 22% K rate for him on the year, which down from 24% going back to last year. So maybe not a stellar play, but I do think one to consider just because of the low ownership and the potential for him to pitch deep into a game and maybe survive versus Atlanta. But it is a tough Atlanta lineup going against them.
Yeah, the current Atlanta lineup has a 25% strikeout rate. Let's see what they're coming in with a 5.4 implied run total. It's 90 degrees in Atlanta, 45% humidity, so it favors the hitters a little bit. Ryu, I'm okay with up to 20%. I haven't looked to see what the masses are going to be doing, but that is where I will set my cap. I suspect it will come in a little below that.
Okay, that seems fair to me. Let's get on to the next game. We got Minnesota heading into Texas. Minnesota getting 6.3 implied runs. Very popular or very good-looking team on the top stacks tool. One of the better chances of being a top stack relative to their ownership. Going against Ariel Jurado, who is a guy who doesn't really strike people out. Has kind of gotten lucky on the year, it looks like. I mean, he's given up hard contact, but the results haven't really been there in terms of the production he's given up in isolated power. Just a 187 ISO given up going back to last season, but getting barreled pretty hard in 9% rate, giving up 45% hard contact, only a 17% K rate. So there is some potential here for Minnesota, and they do project really well from pretty much the entire order there, I guess besides Jake Cave. And Texas on the other side going against Jose Barrios, who's really not been a great strikeout pitcher on the year, just under league average with a 22.6% K rate. And Texas does have some guys who can hit, but the weather here is certainly going to favor hitters. It's going to be almost 100 degrees there. I like Minnesota, and it was hard for me to land on them with our projections for whatever reason. They just didn't occur for me a lot as full man stacks, and I had to really get out of my way to get there. So I like Minnesota. Everything else this game I could kind of live without. But how are you feeling here, Emac?
So it's the price on Fantasy Draft and DraftKings. They're spendy. Kepler, Sano, Rosario, Garver are all 5,000 or 10,000, depending on your site. Above Polanco's right there as well. Luis Arias right there. So if you're trying to get them, go for CJ Cron. Go for Marwin Gonzalez. I don't normally recommend Marwin Gonzalez and Jake Cave. So if you go for that bottom third of the order, it's not a bad way to go. They do all have power. If we look at the Twins are the team I wrote up for that late slate, the 8 o'clock slate, and my go to Colorado. Okay, we got that out of the way now. But Jurado, in his last 14 and 2/3 innings, that's 3 starts, has allowed 15 runs, 5 walks, 21 hits. So that's 26 base runners in 14 and 2/3 innings. That's just shy of 2 per inning. Only 11 strikeouts. He's allowed 15 home runs this season, 5 to lefties, 10 to righties. And based on the number of at-bats, it's proportionally more productive for righties. So if we're going to do the dong picks, Chris, I'm ready with mine.
Oh, you're right. We are past time. I got too caught up in the game-by-game motion. But yeah, let's do it, Emac. I'll let you go first because I need a second to think about mine.
Miguel Sano.
God damn. So that day that I was gonna pick him and I didn't do it, and I really regretted it because I felt like my pick was also a shoo-in, and
Kepler would have been my second choice. So there you go. I'm going in this game. I'm going hard.
All right. Let me see who I'm gonna go against. I think I got to go to Boston because of Woj. And
damn you, Jake, getting Mookie Betts. The 8-0, or they scored 8 runs, no home runs for Boston, and then Betts gets number 9 in the later innings last night.
So wait, yeah. So yesterday, no JD home run, no Devers home run, but there was one for Betts, right?
Yep.
Okay. And Danny Santana, do you recall if he got one?
He did not.
Okay, sweet. So, I mean, I don't even want to update the standings at this point, but rest assured, Jake and EMAC are strongly competing up top there. And the rest of us, even Josh, though his pick rate is more solid. His pick rate actually not as good now as both yours and Jake's. But you guys are 26 total dongs for Jake, 27 total dongs for EMAC. So you guys are both really strongly in the hunt there. And everybody else is just a distant second, third, or fourth, depending upon our worldview. So that's all that matters. All right, I got to get on the board today, though. And I'm going to go to Rafael Devers. I think that seems like a fair.
You're trolling me from yesterday. Well played, sir. Well played.
Yep, I guess I am.
Makes it that much sweeter that you didn't even know, Chris.
Because I don't want to hurt you, EMAC. You're my Saturday buddy. I got to be nice to you sometimes. During the week, I could be mean. On Saturdays, not mean. All right, so the picks are in. If Jake or anybody else has one, we'll drop it to you guys in a moment. But unfortunately, I missed my cue for the dong picks. That's my bad. I got too caught up in our game by game analysis. But yeah, so Minnesota, let's circle back to these guys. So Sano is one of your guys, really good power going against a guy in Gerardo who seems like he's due to give up more power production than he has. Polanco really looking strong as well. Garver, Arias, who doesn't have a ton of power, but he's shown some recently. Seems like he's kind of on the upswing, maybe sharing some of the stash of some of the other guys here in the Minnesota lineup. And Texas, too, also not the most appealing, as we mentioned, going against Barrios. But how much of the field how much above the field do you imagine you'll be on Minnesota? Because I feel like if you're picking a guy for your home runs, you must be there pretty heavily.
I'm just clearing my tiers contest here. But where's the field on it?
So the field right now looks like. Let me just double check.
I'm going to put them at 20%, and I'll take it.
So you would be above the field on that. On the most recent Top Stacks update that I had, they're projected to be 6.4% owned, but with a 13.4% chance of being a top stack, which would put them number 2 on the slate. So there is a really big discrepancy between their current chance of being a top stack and their ownership, like a really, really big one by the usual standards of this.
I'm comfortable with that. I suspect they'll come in around. And it's their price. Their price is off the charts. So that means no DeGrom in those lineups, which means I'm going to be going dicey with pitching. Who we'll get to, or one of the other also.
Yeah, we just got a top stacks update. So yeah, still a significant difference. They now their chance of being a top stack has gone up. They have a 14.3% chance of being a top stack. And of course, you do get the top stacks tool with an Awesemo Plus membership. So use that promo code live before lock for half off your first month. But 14.3% chance of being a top stack and only 8% ownership. So still a gigantic discrepancy. And it is a good time to load up on Minnesota based on a tournament perspective. All right, let's go on to actually real fast. Any Barrios at all for you? Because he is a guy who is a little bit cheaper than he should be. And
nope, waving him off.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll set him at 5 or 10, so I'll get a little bit when I run the 150. But this is a conscious effort that I don't want to go to Barrios. Now his home road splits have evened out quite a bit this season. That's something we've always kept an eye on. But the weather and such. I'd rather roll the dice with one of these riskier NL pitchers that doesn't have to face the DH.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Let's get on to the main event here of our crappy pitchers. We got Taylor Clarke, who's now going to be extremely owned. Logan Webb is going to be less owned, and he's been a relatively competent, I guess not a stellar pitcher by any stretch, but he's at I don't know. His strikeout numbers, I don't have them in front of me, but I feel like he was at like about 9 Ks per 9, so pretty average pitcher in his most recent minor stints, but he is stretched out, should be able to go deep into the game if he can survive the San Francisco lineup, this Arizona lineup. And San Francisco on the other side going against Taylor Clarke, getting 4.8 implied runs. Clarke, also not a good pitcher, of 5.6 xFIP on the year, not a good strikeout rate at 17%, getting barreled at the highest rate on the slate at 13%. But he is in a park that's going to help him out. Arizona's park, one of the better ones for pitching on the slate. And I don't mind Clarke. Obviously, I'm going to be above the field on him reluctantly, but the price works. And I also have a little bit of San Francisco leverage going the other way. Webb, I'm also getting a good amount of, not really getting much Arizona leverage against him. What are you going to have in this game, EMAC? And I guess who would you choose out of the Clarke and Webb duo, the stellar duo that we have pitching here?
All right. For me, it's definitely going to be Webb. Clarke is just a bad pitcher. Here's your little bonus. From Adam, he says, my overall thoughts on Clarke. He's my least favorite pitcher of the Suarez, Webb, Clarke trio, but he will end up on some of my tournament lineups simply because I think he is a cheap SP2 on DraftKings, and that is the best roster construction tonight. That, of course, translates very nicely over there to fantasy draft. Suarez, the knock against him is he's gone negative his last 3. He had some nice strikeout numbers there in AAA Salt Lake for the Bees, but that has just escaped him. Logan Webb, so he's got 7 innings in AAA this season. That's it. So that was 90 pitches. The only AAA start. In AA, he has struck out about 25 or 26% of his pitchers. That's over about 40 innings. So we can translate that to about a 7 and change per 9 in the majors. Usually you discount that by about 20%. So he's the guy I'm going to go to. I was joking with Adam because about 6 weeks ago we had the Tyler Beede start in Arizona, and basically it was fighting. Somehow they left him in, and he got positive, I think, 1.9 DK points. He had been negative almost the entire night, and somehow they left him in like 5 innings or 4 and change, and he gave up like 7 runs. I forget what it was. It was awful, but that's what I'm having flashbacks towards. So yeah, little nervous there for any pitcher in this game, but it looks like it's going to be Webb for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great Arizona lineup going against Webb here. You have Peralta will give you some pause because he has a 236 ISO and a 137 WRC plus versus righties. Eduardo Escobar, also a pretty solid hitter in terms of power with a 246 ISO. So those guys really the only ones I feel like Webb has to worry about. Wilmer Flores, not the best, but certainly a downgrade, or not the worst rather, but certainly a downgrade on Ketel Marte. And on the San Francisco side, I do think San Francisco has some potential here. Alex Dickerson has been really good versus righties on the year. He's got a 313 ISO and a 176 WRC plus. Steven Vogt has also hit righties pretty well. Like Clarke worries me. I'm going to have him, and I guess his ownership actually has come down a bit here. But he's still going to be a guy I have because he just occurred a lot for me with his price point and opening up some bats. But man, he can really get shelled today, even though this park is not going to be good, and the Giants theoretically are not good. Clarke is a real high risk. Not even high reward guy because the reward is not great. He pitches 4.4 innings in the game. It's not doing much for you.
It's shaky at best.
It is shaky at best, but whatever. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do to afford the bats, especially on these hitting friendly slates. And speaking of hitting friendly, we got a game in Coors coming up right now. Miami, 4.4 implied runs going against Herman Marquez is going to be pretty chalky today. Colorado on the other side getting 7.6 implied runs, which is a slate high, going against Hector Noesi, who has offered nothing in his return to the major leagues, really just getting hit hard. Has actually a decent swinging strike rate in his limited sample size. He's only faced 46 batters in the majors, has a 14.3% swing strike rate, and also a 23.9% K rate. That's not bad. So maybe he's not as bad as it seems, given that Colorado is going to be the chalkiest of chalk today. The top 4 is going to be owned, all of them on DK over 22%, some of them up over 30% for Daniel Murphy in his case. These guys are priced reasonably well given the opportunity, but maybe Noesi isn't as bad as it seems, EMAC, or how much Colorado are you going to have?
I have a ton of Colorado. I want to get as much as I can. That is no surprise for anybody. This is not breaking news or breaking. It's the hill I'm going to die on tonight. And I picked my spots here with Colorado. On an airplane last night, so I did not get to play, but I would not have played much Colorado. Sadly, my joke for Hector no SC ruined by no Ramirez, who is pitching for the Angels. We're going to say no to both of them.
No means no. No means no.
No means, oh, very good. No means no. So Herman Marquez is a solid option going against Miami. 4.7 implied run total for Miami, which is high, but not Coors Field high. If you look at their guys, there's really nobody scary on their lineup. You can get Curtis Granderson you're hoping for, that he pokes one over the wall or gets a RBI double or something. You're hoping Neil Walker gets a gap double or something. That's really about it. So Herman Marquez, I think, is somewhat interesting. I'd rather chance him than, say, Rodriguez. I would rather chance him than, there was another than Barrios, who we talked about, and Hyun-Jin Ryu. So, yikes, that's me going against Miami. With regards to the Colorado guys, they've got a couple cheapies over there on Yahoo that will help you out. with Murphy, and I think Romal Tapia is like 15, and Desmond is 11. So I think Desmond and Murphy are 11, or maybe Murphy's 12. Those are going to be very popular guys over there on Yahoo. But I think going to pretty much anybody up and down the lineup on DK or fantasy draft is what I want to do with Colorado. I would like to get 25 to 30%, but those lineups are going to be lineups without DeGrom, and I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, so I got a lot of Miami. I mean, in Colorado, I'm with the field on, or at least close to the field on, and try to get some different configurations there. Got some Ramel Tapia, got some Ian Desmond. Ian Desmond, if you are going to put a guy in there, he's not great versus righties. Only a 140 ISO and a 65 WRC plus, but he's going to be 7% owned, and theoretically, he's not as bad of a hitter as it may seem. I think, especially going against Nuesi, who has an 11% home run rate so far in the year versus righties. So the hope would be that Desmond would be the guy who can differentiate in a 5-man stack, but I mean, it's a lot of chalk for Colorado. I also did get Miami going against Herman Marquez because they project pretty decently, and you are getting pretty good leverage on the field. Do you imagine you'll be getting any of Miami? It looks like the ownership is only going to Neil Walker and Alfaro and Brinson for a 3-man stack. But I got some Birdie, I got some Cooper, I got all the luminaries of the Marlins lineup. How are you feeling about that, Emac?
Got one-offs or duos maybe against them. Not as excited about it because I think Marquez is a decent enough pitcher. It'll be interesting to see who takes what Twitter victory laps tonight with him, but I'm not as excited about the Marlins. I'm setting them as a team at 10%. I don't think I'll get there on my stacks, but I'm about ready to start running those on DK.
All right, so let's get on to our next game. We got the White Sox heading into a game with the Angels. The White Sox getting 4.2 implied runs against Noe Ramirez, who Emac mentioned, or Noe, whatever, however he pronounces it. And Jose Suarez, the long reliever, coming in behind him, who has been terrible on the year, giving up a 2.1 whip and 7.8 xFIP to righties. It's bizarre that he can't get past any righties, but every time against righties, he keeps getting blown up. He's going against the White Sox lineup, who has a 24% carried on the year versus lefties. Their actual project, or their confirmed lineup today, also has a 24% K rate as well. And the Angels on the other side going against Hector Santiago, who has offered nothing so far this year. Going back to last year, also hasn't been really good, giving up a lot of power so far this season, giving up an 11% barreled ball rate. But the Angels lineup in there really not great versus lefties either. Justin Upton, terrible versus lefties in a somewhat extended sample size going back to last season. Mike Trout, the only hitter above a 100 WRC plus besides Wilfredo Tovar in the lineup. I keep getting Angels, though, because Santiago is so bad. Apparently, that's going to make the Angels project better. And I also tried to force in some White Sox because the chalk Jose Suarez is not looking the most appealing to me. But how are you feeling about this game, Mac?
I'm not that excited about it. It's not actually not on the DK late slate. I think you can mix and match. I just set Suarez at 20. We got him coming in at 40. That's really the extent of my. I think you are definitely on him from the White Sox and hope you get some leverage. I mean, he's gone negative his last, but that's not something that we like to see. So mileage may vary, but at 4,900, Clarke at 4,800, and then would rather try to get the money to get to Webb on this one. So it's going to be scary. The field appears to be on Suarez, so but that won't happen until the end of it. So we'll see.
And Crow, always delicious when you're hosting shows and have to hear from people when you're wrong. always the best one for that. And that is our closing game. So we have now hit on everything. Right? I'm not missing any, am I?
No, I think you're good.
Okay. So we are good. So I get your lineups in. You got 15 minutes left to lock. We'll talk through every question that you have right now. I'm checking the YouTube chat, checking the premium Slack as well. Now is a good time if you want to get those ownership projections or those player projections. You still have 15 minutes to lock. And this is a pretty easy slate, I would say, to get everything in because all the lineups are in. So relative to a normal slate where we're waiting on usually the goddamn Angels to give a lineup, They did it early today. So go use the ownership projections and the player projections at osmo.com/join. Use the promo code live before lock for half off your first month to get all that data that we reference here and just data you can just plug right into Fantasy Cruncher and just get away with it. Just start working right now. So go to osmo.com/join and join us right now. So how are your crunches going so far, Emac? Anything changed throughout the course of the show? Which are you feeling the most heavy on?
Right. So I just hit crunch. I'm running 84 fours, which of course is going to force my 4-4 stacks up a little bit higher on this one. Someone was asking me, do we go with Grandal or Jock Peterson in cash? I think I'm going to say Grandal.
Yeah,
It's
and cash
close,
has to be Grandal
but
because
I
of that
think it's
ownership.
better chance of getting a walk, less likely to be pulled.
Yeah.
So
That's
in
fair.
cash, I would do that. But I think they're on the right spots. And then someone was asking, who's the best sub 5K pitcher on TK? Yeah, it's, as I said before, punch yourself in the face or the nads and then pick one. And there you go.
For me, it's terrible Taylor Clarke, I think is who I would go with, but your mileage may vary on that one. But yeah, I think it's, unfortunately, that's the guy I cannot get away from no matter how I may try. Apparently, I'll be playing a lot of Taylor Clarke today.
All right, so this will be interesting. So I hit my cap. So here's my pitching. And these guys all hit the caps. DeGrom 40, Marquez 40, Webb 35, Suarez 20. Now remember, that's half of what the field is. Rodriguez 15. I think that's about half the field. Taylor Clarke 15. I don't like it, but he's going against San Fran. He just has to survive. Hyun Ryu is at 13. I said just say no, but Noe Ramirez is coming in at 10% for me. I'll live with that. Of course, he's going against the White Sox, which is always a little bit of a help. And then Dinelson Lamet, only 9%. I thought he would be a little bit higher. I got a ton of him on DK. I guess it's, or probably Yahoo, where I want to say he's 37, much different price than being 94. So if he was 94 on Yahoo, that'd be about 44. So that's the reason I'm not getting as much here. I'm okay with that. But I have no Barrios, no Eflin, no Sanchez, no Wojciechowski. Now I'm going to go with my 5-0s and my 4-0s, so I might get a few of these guys that I didn't get any yet of. But for me, it's really going to be DeGrom, Marquez, Webb, and Lamet. A little bit of Suarez. Again, we have him nicely projected at 2.4 points per thousand, but that's just him getting 11 points, which, by the way, would be his total over the last 5 games combined. So keep that in mind. With regards to where my stacks are, Colorado capped out. I'm going to run them basically at 25 to 30%. Boston at 20%. Miami came in at 20%. LA at 15%. And then Minnesota is not showing up. They're at 4%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start forcing in some Minnesota. So this is basically 25% of my lineups. I'll use about 25% the 4-4s, 25% 5-2s, 25% 4-0s, and then I'll start playing around. And with that last, generally between 10 to 25%, getting in the teams that I don't have. So that'll be earmarked for Minnesota. That'll be earmarked for the Dodgers, which I'm not getting on these stacks. So
that is fair. Also, one thing I just realized, so Alex Dickerson on the slate going against Taylor Clarke is priced higher than Mike Trout. He's $5,500 on DK. Are you kidding me? I love Alex Dickerson. He should not be in a pitching park. What is with these prices on stacks? I had San Francisco stacks or mini stacks. It was like, okay, I Vogt is fine. Like some of these other guys, Jeanette's pretty reasonably priced, but 4,800 for Yastrzemski and 5,500 for Dickerson. That is outlandish. How is that even possible?
Dickerson brought the magic when they Giants got him in this series, whatever it was, 6 or so weeks ago. And he just kind of went nuts for them. The funny thing is I was telling Adam about that, and then we laughed because Colorado has only 2 players more expensive than Dickerson.
I mean, he's been great versus righties. Like I mentioned his numbers before, but they are really strong power numbers. But that is illogical. That he should not be priced higher than Mike Trout going against Santiago. That's not a thing. Wow. All right. So good reason why I guess I didn't get much of Alex Dickerson. Also, Josh making a home run pick today. A surprise Saturday cameo from Josh, and he is going with Eddie Rosario. He is trolling the EMAC pick, which is dangerous. We don't like trolling EMAC picks.
That's what Josh does, though.
That is part of his strategy. I feel like he decreases the odds slightly because there's one card taken off the table, and then he just gets his odds slightly better. That's part of his gamble, his risky gambit that he has. See who was asking this. Michael Baker in the premium Slack asking, is there any reason to play Miami on FanDuel? I would say yes. So I don't love Miami, but I did get some of them as leverage because they're owned. Excuse me, Herman Marquez is going to be pretty owned on DK. Herman Marquez is also going to be the number 2 owned pitcher on FanDuel at 21%. So yeah, like Miami, I get it. They're not a great team total. Theoretically, not a great matchup, and people just saw what John Gray did to them in Coors. But Marquez can get hit, and he's going to be owned on FanDuel. So anytime a pitcher is going to be owned and can get hit, I think they are worth some leverage against them. Are you playing FanDuel tonight, Emac?
I am not. I can only do two. Doing the show, I can only do two sites. So tonight it's Yahoo and DK. For football, I'll play all the sites because you have more time.
Mike Campbell, 5,500 for Dickerson. What a time to be alive. Yeah, I'm proud of him. I mean, I feel like this is one of those like Sonny Gray ship my money things where he wants him to be over 10K. I like Alex Dickerson. I've played him a bunch this year. He's done good for me or done well for me as a one-off or as part of those occasional San Francisco stacks that go off. But the man should not be higher priced than Mike Trout going against Hector Santiago. I think Trout's a little cold by Trout standards, but that does not matter. That's crazy. That is craziness on the slate. Let's see if we have any good questions here. Who are your favorite Colorado guys? Because we mentioned how they are going to be pretty owned on that top four, but you have some guys in there like Tapia and the aforementioned Ian Desmond who are going to be a bit lower owned. Are you getting any more of the lower owned guys at a higher volume to try to differentiate?
No, I'm not coming in nearly as high as I had.
Okay, that is fair. Yeah, Tapia, McMahon, Desmond, all those guys in the 10% range. Tony Walter is a bit higher, closer to 15% on DK. So those are the guys to go to if you want to differentiate because the Blackman, Story, Arenado, Murphy quadruplet is going to be extremely highly owned today. And probably not one that, well, if it does blow up, it is going to be a tough night for many of us today. Let's see. YouTube chat, what do you got? Can Taylor Clarke survive? A great question. I mean, the park is going to help him out. That is one thing that is very clear. It is a roof closed day in Arizona, so it is going to be pretty safe by the standards of what most pitchers are going to get. And it hasn't helped him out so much on the year, and he's pretty bad, and he's getting hit hard, and it's not great for him. But I'm there, man. I'm still at 35% Taylor Clarke. That's about right for me, even though I don't love it. I have too much Logan Webb. I can't really get any more Logan Webb, so. Playing Taylor Clarke might be a necessary evil of the slate, but I would try to get some Giants leverage if you are playing as much of him as I am. People are saying that your voice keeps cutting out on your mic for some reason. I hear you fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I need to get a new cord. I don't want to touch anything because we lost. I'm going to get a new setup here.
All right, so yeah, just bear with your old pal Emac. He is your old pal, so if he cuts in and out a little bit, that's life. That's just what friendship is all about. Let's see. 4K DK outfielder. Who do you like for a GPP? It's a good question, Matthew Protowell. Let's look at the projections here. We'll give you a freebie from our projections here, which of course you can pay for as well and use that promo code live before lock for half off your first month of Osmo Plus. Under 4K, who's going to be the top projected guy? Looks like, Justin Upton, probably it. I also, Cole Calhoun, I would prefer Cole Calhoun to Justin Upton personally because Upton really cannot hit lefties at all in a way that continues to baffle me, and he's always pretty popular, even though he's facing lefties and has been terrible against them. His numbers versus lefties, just to circle back and hammer home this point, he has a 165 batting average, a 49 WRC plus, and a 124 ISO versus lefties, and 191 at bats going back to last year. So Upton has had a storied history of not hitting lefties well for some reason, but maybe Santiago get him on track. But I would personally go to Cole Calhoun over him. Scooter or Jeanette, which do you like? Are we talking about his name? Because I think Panic or Jeanette is what Van Dam NYC. Van Dam NYC is a regular here, so I would say that's.
I gotta go, Jeanette. It's been a lost season for Scoots Magoots, dealing with that groin injury for a long time. But Panic, congrats on hitting a home run tonight. He just has no power.
Yeah, and Jeanette is getting, again, a guy in Clarke who gets barreled pretty hard, and Jeanette just cheap enough where, I would try to get the upside of power. And Panic, a guy I don't mind, but I think Jeanette's a clear favorite here going against Clarke.
All right, 4 minutes, fellas and ladies, if you are watching. Get those crunches in. I'm now exporting. And let's hopefully... Oh, and it's the Fantasy World Basketball or Fantasy World Baseball Championships tonight on DK. Next week it is FanDuel. I believe the boss man's at this one, right?
Yeah, I believe he is. He's repping. He tweeted something today where he is actually rubbing in the face our ownership projections, I feel like, to the rest of the field. But we are rooting for the boss man to keep winning whenever he's going to these world championships, because it'd be a nice feather in his cap to take that down too. I feel like he has taken one down before too. Let's see. Favorite stack out of the last 4 games. I guess the last 4. I assume this is for like a night slate question. I would have to be Colorado.
I would counter with Minnesota. They're so spendy, but if you can get there.
Yeah, Minnesota, I think, and Colorado would be the 2 clear-cut favorites. And
assuming Colorado's the answer, but come on, if that's what everybody thinks, then go the other way.
That is fair. And I think a San Francisco mini stack too, definitely in the mix, because if Clarke is going to be the owned on a short slate, or on a full slate rather, on the short slate, one's going to assume he's going to get that much ownership with people going to the Minnesotas and the Colorados of the world, and that could make some leverage against them be even more valuable. Let's see. Who do you prefer tonight, Bryce Harper or Mike Trout?
I've got Trout 61%.
Yeah, I have a
coming in on all my 5-0s and 4-0s. He's coming in.
Yeah, Trout projects significantly better. He's about a 4-point raw points projection higher for DraftKings scoring, and I would go there. But like, if you want to ride the hot hand with Harper, I would not mind that. But it is a spot where it's hard to really go against Trout, even though it's also hard to ignore what Harper's done in his last few games. Is Naylor a good one-off on FanDuel?
Right, going against the guy. If you want to, I have no problem with it.
Yeah, the power numbers have come up a bit for Naylor. 209 ISO now versus righties. He started really poorly in the beginning of the year, but he's kind of worked his way into some degree of form. And as Emac mentioned, versus lefties, Eflin is pretty bad. A 240 ISO allowed to the left side of the plate, as well as a 5.3 xFIP. So I don't hate the idea of Naylor, but not a guy I would consider a necessity on the slate. But 4% ownership.
I want to know how the hell you and Jake nailed his couple of good outings, because there really only were a couple good outings for Eflin.
Yeah, I mean, it just sometimes it speaks to you. But yeah, Eflin Eflin is not a guy. Whenever you get a righty heavy lineup, I think that's generally where you're going with him, because he's really good versus righties. He's not giving up a lot of power, only a 3.5 xFIP. But if you get even 1 or 2 dangerous lefties in there, and I think we do have them here. I mean, Naylor and Hosmer, and Mejia's not the best, but he still does have power. Like, those are guys who can ruin his day pretty fast. So I would not want to go to Eflin today personally.
All right, 50 seconds left, 5-0. By the time you're hearing this, there's going to be 20 seconds left. So get in quick.
Eloy in a 2-man or one-off Calhoun. Given the ownership on Suarez, I would consider Eloy.
I'd go Eloy. I don't mind Calhoun. Just no average, decent power, but go for the leverage.
Yeah, I would agree. And Abreu too is another guy in that White Sox lineup I like a lot. I think that top 3 for the White Sox lineup is one of my favorite little mini stacks today without much ownership on them. Anderson, Garcia, and Abreu. Pretom, thanks for the breakdown, gents. Refreshing. Thanks, Pretom. Thanks for watching, guys. And of course, if you appreciate us here on a Saturday, we appreciate each and every one of you. So show us some love. Hit that like button before you go today. And of course, if you are going to play that night slate, use that promo code live before lock for half off your first month of Osmo Plus. Don't tilt to enter it. Go enter it smartly and go use that promo code live before lock. And we are locked. Speaking of,
I'm going to drop. They asked if we could do a little quick NASCAR.
Yeah, I saw it. Our boy Legalized demanded it, so give it to him.
Well, Legalized doesn't need my help. He's good at NASCAR. So I'm dropping in the link here to the free NASCAR article. Nobody failed tech. This was an impound race, so everybody's set up. So if you're playing on DK, the guy in the back of the pack is going to be Kyle Busch. He's going to be very popular, but Bristol, there are wrecks. It's actually the only NASCAR race I've been to, but it takes a while for these guys to work through the field because it's a short track. So, he'll make his way up through it, but that's a long way to go. You're going to need 2 to 3 dominators, probably 3. In the article, we've got them listed. If you go down to the bottom of what Phil has done, he's got it color-coded. So if you want to use Fantasy Cruncher or another optimizer, you can use anybody that's in orange and then set them as a group. And what I did is I said, okay, run – I'm running 120 lineup. So I said run 20 with 4. I think only 12 came up. I said run 30 with 2, and then I ran the rest of them with 4. And I did them all in the same crunch so I wouldn't get duplicated lineups. Set randomness to 25%, set uniques to 2. I know a lot of people will go 3 on uniques, but I don't really go too crazy on the uniques. Those are going to be where you're really concentrated. If you're looking for cash games, Jimmie Johnson at 7,000, a little bit egregious. He's been having a terrible year, but he is probably the best driver we have seen, at least in the modern era. Kyle Busch, again, is someone, he's the most expensive guy, but he's got the most points to gain. Also means he doesn't have a lot to lose. No real cheapies are standing out. If you want to go for some discounted guys, I would consider Ross Chastain going last. I would not play J.J. Yeley because he typically will run somewhere between 5 and 10 laps, and then he will park his car. So he will be ahead long enough where he will come back out to go ahead of anybody who's wrecked, but that's going to be about it for him. He's a bit of a trap. Chris Buescher, not a bad guy in cash. I ended up with, I think it was William Byron was the guy I ended up with because I had 7,000 left. He came in at 6, and I already had Jimmie Johnson on my main lineup. And then guys at the top, Hamlin, Larson, Truex, and Busch. If somebody can get out front, you can lead a lot of laps. If guys take it easy, if Hamlin gets out there, or if Larson's able to work the high line and get him, it's been both lines so far in practice, but Larson is phenomenal at running the high line. Not that there's much of one here at Bristol, but if he can get on that, and if he can get in front of Hamlin, then whichever one of those guys leads most of the first stage laps will bank you those lead lap points. That'll also probably get you some fastest laps because they'll be in clean air. This is one of the races where it's going to kind of have to come in the top 10 or so for fastest laps, unless you get people bunched in 2 groups, and whoever gets in front of that second group and gets a little bit of clean air, it'll work. That's not going to happen by the time we get to the second and third stage because everybody's going to be mixed up amongst those on the lead laps and those that are trailing because it's not a long course. Fun as hell to watch. The last great Coliseum, it's Bristol, baby. But there you go. Legalize. Tell me how I did. Llama, if you're watching, tell me how I did. But I did a lot of studying for this race. So there we go. There's my NASCAR take. Again, we do have popularity and we have driver projection for points behind the paywall, along with Alex's rankings. A, B, C, D, E for value and points. But that's something you can get. We do have that free article from Phil in front of the paywall, which is pretty solid. Phil's really smart when it comes to NASCAR.
Yeah, Phil, one of the better NASCAR analysts out there. And we do have the NASCAR ownership projections just updated. I believe Tom just posted in the chat. So go check them out if you are an Osmo Plus premium member using all those things. And if you're not, use that promo code live before lock because we're doing all the sports. We've had preseason free content up as well. So lots of, for the NFL, of course, lots of things going on right now. If you're a DFS degenerate in the best possible way, we use all the data that we have there because there is an edge still in a lot of these sports that are out there and a lot of the same principles apply. So that's why EMAC does a really good job with NASCAR. Obviously, same thing with NHL. A lot of these sports people just aren't paying enough attention to, and you can do a good job with them. So go check them out with that promo code live before lock. EMAC, what is your schedule tomorrow? What do you have going on?
Well, apparently, according to Bobby Three Sticks, I need to get a new mic. I agree. This I think it's the cord, but I've had this microphone for 7 years. It's done 2,000 plus shows between podcasts and live shows. I think it's time for a new one. So I will be looking to order one just so I get a new one here. I even tried different USB ports, but seems to be that this could be on its last leg. It's traveled with me too many times. Chris.
Oh. I mean, look, at least you've hit that outliers number according to Malcolm Gladwell of using the mic. So that's all that we can ask here on the Osmo YouTube channel. But I appreciate you, EMAC. So keep your eyes peeled for EMAC tomorrow. Subscribe, hit the notification bell to see all of our Sunday MLB content and all the other content we'll have coming up throughout the week. It's going to be a real busy week here for a lot of us because our boy Laffy is out doing lovely things in his life. And we are going to be here for all these shows throughout the week. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Enjoy EMAC tomorrow with Josh, and I will see you guys again soon. Good luck, guys.
Perfect. That'll be at noon tomorrow. Josh and me going live before lock. I'm working on a best ball article. I've done over 100 drafts thus far, slow drafts because I like those, but I'm putting that information together, trying to get that out tomorrow. It'll probably be a series. I'll just release it in things. That'll be free. We do have free preseason content up as well and free season-long content. Game by game or team by team capsule breakdown done by Nolan. And Ben Rossa has chimed in. I know that Chris and Laffy have done some position by position stuff. We have the mock draft that we're actually playing for money that you can see the breakdown of that we did if you're into season-long games. So it's going to be good. Football not that far away. Definitely check that out. You can follow Chris at Chris Spags on Twitter. I am at EMAC DFS. And, of course, it is Osmo_COM. Always check out the Osmo pinned tweets. Oftentimes, we're giving away month-long subscriptions. All you got to do is follow the instructions. Usually it's a like, reply, and follow one of the other Osmo accounts. Put your answer in. Takes you 15 seconds, and you'll be put in a drawing. I think our current one is we're giving away 3 one-month packages for saying what you like or don't like about the Osmo season-long draft rankings. Those are from Alex himself. There are some interesting thoughts in there. I agree on some, I disagree on some, but that's the best NFL. All sorts of variants, injuries, and other fun conditions like not liking the helmet you have to wear. So with that, we're getting on out of here. Thank you, Chris, for joining me for the show this evening. Good luck, gamers.